All right, so here we go on the pen and ink drawing. Um, I'm starting out just on some scratch board or just scratch paper. This is just something I cut out, and this is the preparatory drawing. And starting out with kind of easy gestural strokes, gradually defining the outline of the flower. And the flower I picked was one I photographed and sketched in the botanical gardens. Um, Really cute little flower. Had a little interesting thing that I really liked. I'll talk about it later. And now that my hand is warmed up, I can draw really fast. I bet you didn't know I could draw this fast. It's just simply amazing. I amaze myself. Um, and right here, I'm basically by eye uh, estimating, the size and relationship of everything. I'm not being too super careful. If I was doing this as a professional job, I would be extremely careful. Okay, so at this point, I've pretty much lined out, I got my initial drawing mostly done, and I've cleaned it up and moved lines around that needed to be changed, and I have all the main architecture thrown in. And you notice I'm putting in some shading um, and cleaning up and adding some things. Uh, and what I want is basically a good approximation of what I want my final drawing to look like. And the more information here uh, basically translates into more information as I work on the pen and ink drawing, and helps me along the way. So here we go, adding a few more things, one more petal back there. And there we go. Okay, that is done. And I'm going to transfer it. And I'm so quick, you don't even see the transfer. Just watch very closely. And boom, there we go. Got the paper underneath. I'm transferring it onto my drawing paper. The drawing paper underneath is Bristol board. And Bristol board is basically good all around drawing paper for pen and ink and watercolor and all kinds of other stuff. The name comes from Bristol, England, where it was originally made. Um, and it's just a wonderful paper. I think this is a Strathmore, probably 2 or 3 ply hard press Bristol board, um, and very nice for pen and ink. And the hard press is especially important for pen and ink because the fibers basically don't, hot press fiber doesn't absorb the ink real well. And that's a good thing because it keeps the ink on the surface and keeps sharp lines instead of having it absorb in and turn into fuzzy lines. Okay, so I'm doing some basically practice lines to warm up my hand. I haven't done pen and ink in quite a while. I don't do much of it anymore. So I need a warm up. And I can tell you I'm out of practice with pen and ink. About 10 years ago, when I did a lot of it, I was quite good. And now I'm kind of just middling at it. I make mistakes all the time these days. So you'll see a mistake coming up here pretty quick. Um, so keep your eyes open. And I'm darkening up this line. Here's a mistake right there. And see how rough that line is? It shouldn't be that way. I didn't intend that. And I also got fibers caught in my pen tip, which is irritating because it drags extra ink. Okay, now what was unusual about this flower and why I wanted to draw it is that little smiley face right there. Um, and as I looked at this flower, I noticed on the is it the anther or the stamen? There's a little smiley face, and it was right there on all the flowers. And as soon as I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. And I'll show the photograph to you in class, and it's quite amazing. So here I am. Oh, my hand is warmed up again, so I'm going fast. Uh, so I've outlined the thing, and so I'm starting the shading with pen and ink. And of course, shading in pen and ink, you can't shade just by putting it in the whole area as black, because that won't shade anything. It'll just turn it black. So you have to do it either in dots or little lines or hatches or something like that. And that first petal, I'm just kind of demonstrating various ways of shading here. And that first petal I did it in stipples, just little dots. Um, and this next petal I'm doing in lines, hatched lines. And I think I continue and do the rest of the flower and hatch lines. But you can do it in just about any kind of style that you want. Make up your own, have kind of, crazy lines or something like that, or a mixture of stipples and lines or hatches, just about anything. You got to play around with it and figure out what you want to do. And a lot of times, what technique you use depends on the flower itself. Um, and for this particular flower, probably the stippling would have been best. But I really hate stippling because it takes so long, so I switched to switched to line. Uh, so here we go, and basically I put it in the shaded, the colored areas first, and as a overall tone, and then going back over it. See, I'll put in the overall the shaded area, and then I go back over it and put in the overall kind of value of the petal itself, the petal underneath. So stippling in the little face, put his hat on, and here we go. Okay, now I'm speeding up. There we go. I got this drawing going. And I'm afraid I wasn't very good at camera work here. I got the picture a little bit low. It's cut off some of the action. But you can see most of it there. And I'll be disappointed if you don't draw this fast in class. There we go. We're getting done. And I'm just doing the one flower here to save time. I could have done the whole thing, but it would just be repetition of the same process over and over again. And I'm now putting in the final lines of that white petal in front. And notice the really dark line underneath that white petal. That tends to really pop it out and pull it in front as if it's really coming out at you. Having that strong contrast like that will really draw your eye's attention and pull things forward in your field of view. And for that white petal, the kind of lines that I use for it are really super fine, and I tip my pen tip up higher so that the end of it is just touching. There we go.